Racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, specifically those who advocated for the superiority of the white race.
Oh, and then Marjorie Taylor Greene and the right wing exploded. Someone who might know a little something about that is our favorite chuckly congressman from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Yes,
Commonwealth.
Thank
you. John Yarmuth is here. Good morning, John. Congressman.
Good morning.
By the way, I don't know if this was yesterday, but I can't believe you showed up. You said no finer day to celebrate two symbols of the American greatness than today, as we recognize both Flag Day and National Bourbon Day.
Yeah.
So the fact that you have made it here this morning is really quite an accomplishment.
Well, that was actually Monday. I could have recuperated, but it is for me a multi-day celebration, National Bourbon Day.
Every day's Bourbon Day.
I love that when I said hello, I'm like, I'm still doing my show prep for you. And you said yours is, what is your show prep?
Yeah, my normal show prep is 1.5 ounces.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about,
my staff generally doesn't let me do anything public without fortifying myself.
Representative, it strikes me, with Merrick Garland yesterday saying the obvious, that we've known for a long time that our number one domestic threat is violent white supremacists, domestic, however you want to call it. And it strikes me that 10 years ago we knew this, remember? And we had to, but the problem then is Democrats, sort of backed down. Remember Janet Reno sort of apologized because Fox News and the right wing freaked out. So this problem didn't start overnight with violent right-wing extremism in America, did it?
No, and we have Oklahoma City, we have the Branch Davidians, we have example after example of going back well over a decade. You're right, and I'm really happy to see the administration's focus on this and the Justice Department's focus on it, because and the public statement that this really is our number one threat, and because you tend to see this stuff at the MAGA rallies and so forth, and you say, oh, they're harmless, they're loud and crazy, but they're harmless. No, they're not harmless. We saw that on January 6th.
Well, how despicable is it, Congressman, that 21 of your Republican colleagues voted against a bill to award gold medals to the police that protected all of you, right? And of course, all the usual suspects that may or may not be involved in this. Lauren Boebert, Thomas Massey, Paul Gosar, Andy Biggs, Louis Gohmert, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, all voted against it, saying, they didn't like the wording insurrection. Well, obviously this was an insurrection, and they're just so full of it. Because if they thought they were peaceful tourists, they would have been out there with them, posing for pictures, wouldn't they? They were inside, hiding under their desks like all of you were, with begging the Capitol Police to protect you, right? And now here they are.
And of course, they've been the ones screaming for the last couple of years about Blue Lives Matter and honoring police and so forth. So it's just a bizarre mindset that I don't know how we change it, but we just need to say, who are you kidding? No, this was an insurrection. Forget it. But more importantly, these men and women risk their lives for you and for all of us.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Well. Yeah, speaking of the insurrection,
they probably
won't
be held accountable. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have a bit of a bad connection this morning, but U.S. Capitol Police, Washington Metropolitan Police, and local officials requested support from the D.C. National Guard 12 times on January 6th while the Capitol was under attack, as you know, as you heard yesterday. So then acting Defense Secretary Chris Miller authorized the National Guard to remission at 4:32. They didn't arrive till 5:20 p.m., right, is what we heard yesterday. Your colleague Carolyn Maloney said that response took far too long. After a series of delays, the National Guard did not arrive until 5:20, more than 4 hours after the Capitol perimeter was breached. This is a shocking failure. Do you trust Chris Wray? I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time at this point with any Trump appointees. I mean, obviously this DOJ thing is also an FBI thing. The FBI would have known about the spying right? So what did you make of
Right.
Ray's testimony?
Um, yeah, I found it hard to pin him down either. To try to figure out, I think basically he is a true government professional, and I want to trust him, but clearly some things went on under his watch that he really can't absolve himself of. And I'd much rather have a better explanation, a fuller one, and that's one reason why this independent commission would have been such an important step forward in getting a real understanding of not just who's to blame, but where the flaws in our system are and where the shortcomings are and what we need to do to shore them up. We don't have all the information yet. Speaker Pelosi is going to announce, I think either today or tomorrow, but sometime this week, a new approach to it. It's either going to be a select committee or have one of the existing committees take responsibility for the investigation with subpoena power. But it will, that investigation is going to happen. And it's unfortunate that Republicans didn't want to join us in creating something that would be totally credible. That was their strategy. Destroy the chances for something credible so that then they can discredit one that they can label as a partisan investigation.
Sorry, but I don't know what could be more bipartisan than wanting to hang the vice president and the Democratic Speaker of the House, the Republican vice president. And I mean, okay. So the Parler, this right-wing site Parler, notified the FBI, referred violent content from its platform to the FBI 50 times ahead of January 6th. Your colleague, Representative Maloney, said the threats, I would say, were everywhere. The Norfolk Field FBI office notified your office. The Washington Post, other newspapers were writing about it. It was on the radio. It was on television. It was on other social media streams. The system was blinking red. Wray said, I do not recall hearing about this particular email, certainly not before January 6th. I was not aware of Parler ever trying to contact my office.
Okay.
That's
true. Very scary. If that's true, that's very scary because that means there's a systemic shortcoming in the FBI's chain of command, and that makes no sense to me.
Right. Okay. By the way, can I just say thank you for defending Representative Omar over this whole latest. It's just speaking of this hearing. They were mostly Republicans were defending the insurrectionists and the rioters, right? They were, calling it an execution of Ashley Babbitt, and just like Putin is defending the rioters, defending the people trying to overthrow the United States government. But meanwhile, so Representative Omar said she was in no way equating terrorist organizations with democratic countries after a group of House Democrats accused her of equating the U.S. and Israel with the Taliban and Hamas. She said on Monday, I asked Secretary of State Anthony Blinken about ongoing international criminal court investigations. To be clear, the conversation was about accountability for specific incidents regarding those ICC cases, not a moral comparison between Hamas and the Taliban and the U.S. and Israel. I was in no way equating terrorist organizations with democratic countries with well-established judicial systems. I think you were asked, because you said much the same thing. And why, they said, why weren't you? And you said, because I'm not. Why were you condemned? And you said, because I'm not black, I'm not a woman, and I'm not Muslim, right?
Right. And really, what I was referring to there, I didn't want to accuse my fellow Jewish members of being Islamophobes or racist or misogynist, but the point was she gets an unjustified amount of scrutiny from everybody, including her colleagues, that the rest of us don't get. And that's why she gets it. I mean, it's clear that that's why she gets it. And so, it's not fair. And of course, this whole idea that if you put Hamas and the United States and Israel in the same sentence, so that you're equating them, that's really stupid. I mean, that's not right. I mean, what she was saying was that all four of those countries have been accused of war crimes, and that's true.
Yeah.
I was asked about whether Israel was an apartheid country. I said yes. A lot of what Israel has done is apartheid.
Yeah.
And nobody's ever called me to the carpet for that or accused me of being anti-Semitic. But I think, Stephanie, the really important thing to remember about this whole episode is that there were far more Jewish members of the House who did not sign that letter than who did sign that letter. There were 30
listen, if any there's a time we got to hang together, it's when our democracy is in the balance. So talk to us quickly about infrastructure. I know you tweeted it's time to rebuild and revitalize America's economy. You're talking about the Biden budget proposes historic investments in climate, job creation, education, infrastructure, public health. On one side of the infrastructure thing, we have Senator Ed Markey saying this.
We're saying that there absolutely has to be a guaranteed deal that climate is built into these infrastructure bills, and that it matches the problem that has to be solved.
So, and I get what he and Senator Merkley are saying, that climate is obviously one of our, and Joe Biden has said is one of his most urgent items. But on the other side, you have Manchin and Sinema, of course, as usual, saying they may not vote for infrastructure. So, what does President Biden do in trying to get this infrastructure deal done?
Well, I think everybody should have the opportunity to fight for their priorities and their values and their positions. But in the final analysis right now, given the situation in Congress, both the House and Senate, we're all Joe Manchin. Every one of us, Democrats, is. Because we all have the opportunity individually to tank anything that comes up here. So, in the House, we can lose 4 votes. So essentially, everybody has the ability to sabotage any of these agendas. So what I've been saying is, the Speaker likes to say unity is our strength. Right now, unity is our only chance.
Yeah.
And because we're not going to get one Republican vote, we need every Democratic vote. So while we can fight for our priorities, ultimately we have to support what is the final product. We all have to support it. Not whether, we don't have the luxury of being totally independent.
It is ugly, ugly sausage you're making. But on the good side, you know what goes well with sausage? Bourbon.
Bourbon.
Yeah. Well, we begin and end with bourbon.
Yes, we do.
All right. Representative John Yarmuth, always a pleasure. Thanks for taking time for us.